In this video I want to put my crying and whining aside and this time look at Modern Warfare 3 Zombies from a more constructive standpoint, because I posted a video the other day talking about all of the gameplay details we know so far regarding Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Of course, this mode is essentially just a hybrid between DMZ and the first version of Outbreak in Black Ops Cold War, but the mode is essentially not really Outbreak 2.0, it's essentially just DMZ with zombies and no PvP elements. And as someone who wasn't a big fan of DMZ and didn't really enjoy it, when I heard this news, I was very emotional and also concerned about Treyarch taking resources away from Call of Duty 2024 Zombies. I think the reason why I was so upset and so emotional is after we got burns on Vanguard Zombies, and that was such a poor experience, apart from Shino Numa, that is why I reacted so vitriolically. However, now that I've had a couple days to sit on this information since the announcement, and I've had more time to digest it and calm down and look at it from a more mature standpoint, I have concocted an idea for a mode of which will satisfy original Outbreak enjoyers. Because the reason why I was so annoyed, like I said before, is I actually really enjoyed the first version of Outbreak, but saw that it had a lot of flaws and a lot of room for improvement. And unfortunately, this version of Outbreak that we're seeing in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is essentially just DMZ. Maybe Treyarch do have planned for a proper sequel to Outbreak next year with COD 2024 Zombies, but thus far this is all we have. Now, there were a lot of people that enjoyed Outbreak but just didn't like DMZ, and I am one of them. Now, if you did enjoy DMZ and you also enjoyed Outbreak, then you are going to be very happy with this year's Zombies, because it is quite literally the perfect scenario because it's a merger of the two modes. Now, if you didn't enjoy the first Outbreak and you didn't enjoy DMZ and you only really enjoy round-based zombies, then unfortunately there's probably no option for you this year. You're just going to have to wait for Treyarch's Call of Duty 2024 Zombies, which is going to be their big zombies comeback and the sequel to Black Ops Cold War Zombies, following on from the post-credit scene of The Forsaken, where Peck was heading to the Pacific to quote-unquote collect some old friends. That'll be the game for you. This year's game just won't be for you. However, considering the groundwork for a proper sequel to Outbreak already exists within Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, since DMZ and Outbreak do share a lot of similar mechanics, I think Treyarch can totally make two different versions of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, instead of just having one regular DMZ version. So the version that has been described so far, and the one that I'm not a big fan of, is essentially the mode has been described as being on a 60-minute countdown where you are playing on the full Warzone map, which is apparently going to be set somewhere in the Middle East, potentially Urzikstan. Apparently it was originally going to be Las Almas, which is the map layout you can see on screen, and it's still going to be relatively the same layout and the same map, but for some weird reason they decided to change the location of it, so the aesthetic will be a bit different, but the general layout will be quite similar. I don't know why they changed the map's location, probably because Urzikstan fits more in the storyline of both Modern Warfare 3's campaign and the zombie storyline. And although Modern Warfare 3 Zombies will be played on the Warzone map, Treyarch have apparently said that they have reskinned and updated the map and changed its lighting and theme to fit more of a zombies aesthetic. That was a big problem with the Euro Mountains. It felt way too much like a multiplayer experience and was way too bright. They did try and change the lighting on Sanatorium, but it didn't really work out well and looked quite weird, like they had just put a blue filter over the map. But later on they did give a newer vibe to Collateral, and that was a lot more atmospheric than the multiplayer version, so I'm sure that Treyarch are capable of this, and they've probably seen everyone's criticisms from the first version of Outbreak, so hopefully this map definitely feels a lot darker and more zombies-esque. Now, before I get into my idea for how they can fix Modern Warfare 3 Zombies with a second version of the mode that sounds a lot better in my opinion and suits more of my taste and people who enjoyed the first Outbreak but didn't like DMZ, I first have a very awesome message to share with you before I jump into it. This video has been kindly sponsored by World of Warships, which is absolutely free. You can progress through the game's countless ship trees simply by playing the game and accumulating experience. If you check it out and register via the link below or using the code WARSHIPS, you can even enjoy a huge in-game starter pack worth 25 euros containing 500 doubloons, 7 days of premium, 2 million credits, a tier 4 ship and 6 skill points commander, so don't miss out. Immerse yourself in thrilling naval battles and assemble an armada of over 600 ships from the first half half of the 20th century. From stealthy destroyers to gigantic battleships, change the look of your ship, choose upgrades to suit your playstyle, and go into battle with other players. The game is on PC, but there's a console version of the game too called World of Warships Legends that you can check out. Naval warfare has never looked this good. Engage in thrilling battles between massive fleets across a multitude of gigantic maps where every maneuver, salvo, or push can mean the difference between utmost triumph and total defeat. From Bismarck to Yamato to Iowa and Hood, the most famous and historic warships of World War I and II have been recreated in breathtaking detail, making World of Warships the most extensive virtual navy museum on the planet. There is a new branch of European destroyers and a new decorated fjord port, everything designed in breathtaking Art Deco style. Every playstyle has its place with different classes. Take command of devastating but slow battleships, versatile but vulnerable cruisers, stealthy but lightly armed destroyers, or quick striking and fragile aircraft carriers, and everything in between. The game has rewarding progression. Choose your favourite branch among in-game nations and battle your way up a comprehensive ship tier system following a natural historical progression. Upgrade and customize, install modifications on your ship to fit your playstyle, train your commanders to unlock special skills and augment your fleet with camouflages, signal flags, and more. Play solo or with friends. If the life of a lone wolf is not for you, invite your friends to a division and put your cooperative skills to the test. If you are looking for a real challenge, join a clan, climb to the top of the clan league, and strive to be the best on your server. So yeah, if this game suits you, like I said before, why not check it out, learn the history today via the link in the description, and claim those free rewards, especially because it's free, so there's literally no reason not to give it a try. And yeah, there'll be an Ethereum ring that will collapse over time on a 60-minute countdown, which is very similar to what happens in Battle Royale and DMZ. So as this ring collapses and you get closer to the center, the enemies get harder / more frequent, and apparently there's human AI that spawns around the outskirts of the map, but they're completely non-existent as you get closer and closer to the center. Which I'm not a big fan of this. I don't think human AI belongs anywhere in zombies. The last time this was tried in Exo Zombies, it didn't work well at all. I just don't see the need for this. We just want to fight zombies. Apparently there will still be on the outskirts zombies and also normal humans, but why not just have zombies? I don't understand the point of that. But anyways, in the center of the map, if you manage to make it there, that's where you're able to escape on a helicopter or an evac chopper or an airplane, whatever the case it is. There'll be some sort of vehicle that will fly you off. Again, just like in DMZ. This version of the mode allows you to bring X-filled items into future games, and this is why I'm not a big fan of this mode and why I didn't really like DMZ. I think the whole concept of being able to bring items into future games just overconvolutes what zombies is and what I get enjoyment out of zombies. I want to hop into zombies every game with a fresh mindset, starting from zero and working my way up. When I jump into zombies, I just want to be focusing on that one game. I don't want to have to be thinking about future games whilst I'm playing, thinking about what items I'm going to try collecting in that game so that I have items for future games. And I also don't want to be reflecting on past games, worrying about what items I've had in past games. It's just something that I don't want to think about at all. I find that zombies is very much a jump in and play experience, and I think that DMZ isn't really jump in and play experience, and I think by them incorporating this extraction shooter mechanic into zombies, it just won't make it as enjoyable because it won't have that jump in and play effect, because you won't just be able to jump in every now and again and just play one game, because your survival is very much dependent on prior games that you've played and prior items you have collected, and that's why I just don't really like the sound of this mode. I'm sure it'll be fun, but Treyarch have described this mode as being very difficult. The problem with this system is that the mode is probably going to be considerably more difficult if you haven't played it a lot previously and collected a lot of items that you were able to spawn in with, making the modes not a jump in and play experience. And the biggest problem with this is that you are able to theoretically spawn in on a game with a ray gun already or juggernog already, completely destroying the progression system in zombies. And we may also see different bundles that you have to pay for in the game that again allow you to spawn in already with a medkit or juggernog or a ray gun, stuff like that, like we've been seeing in DMZ. This was a big problem with the gobblegum system in Black Ops 3 Zombies, and Treyarch stripped that back, and now similar elements are starting to creep in again, but at least gobblegums I felt like were a lot more fun. I just didn't like the gambling aspect, but I do think that they provided so many ways to change up the gameplay, since there was so many different ones, some that were just whimsical or didn't give you that much of an advantage but were just fun to use. But there's always a balance that needs to be had with them. and gobblegums were way too overpowered. I think it's totally fine for there to be upgrades in zombies, stuff that makes it easier for you when you spawn in on the game. For example, I think Cold War Zombies did it right, where of course you could unlock and upgrade further weapons that you could have as a starting weapon, and you could also do permanent upgrades with the Ethereum Crystal upgrade tier system, making your perks better, your field upgrades better, your weapon damage output better, etc. But I think that's fine because it's a permanent upgrade system that no matter when you jump in and play, you're always going to be leveling up. Whereas it's different when you are able to bring items from one game into future games. That's a completely different system, because if you play the game a lot on launch and you get a lot of cool items, but then you get bored because there isn't much to do and you stop playing, well, what if in future seasons new items are added to the game? And because you haven't been playing for a while, if you then want to jump back into the game and there's new items that you weren't aware of, you will be at a massive disadvantage. I'm totally fine with a permanent upgrade unlock system. That works well. And it's also a linear system. There's a direct path to be able to unlock everything. It's not dependent on random loot dropping in your game and you getting lucky enough to exfil with it. There's just way too much randomness with a DMZ Zombies experience, or even in the first DMZ. What doesn't work well in my opinion is the fact that this DMZ Zombies doesn't really sound like you can just jump in and play all of the time at your own comfort. It also doesn't seem like there's any options for solo players, as apparently you're going to be able to play in squads with up to 24 players, and people have been saying that you can even play in 6-player teams instead of 4, and I think that aspect of the mode will be a lot of fun. And like I said, there's no PvP element, so if you enjoyed that in DMZ, then you won't enjoy this as much. However, if you didn't like the PvP element in DMZ, you'll enjoy this more because you won't be getting ransacked by other players. If you want to jump in and defeat a zombie boss, for example, you won't have to worry about another team trying to sabotage that. Instead, I guess the teams can work together to complete missions, or I guess race against each other even. And from the sounds of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, it sounds like it's going to be online only, meaning that in years to come, when the mode is not getting supported anymore, there'll just be no way to play the game anymore. And it also means that it doesn't sound like you're going to be able to play this mode offline. Overall though, although I'm not a big fan of the sounds of this mode, we have to understand that of course we haven't even seen gameplay of the mode yet. The official reveal hasn't even happened. We haven't even seen a trailer or anything. We've not been able to play the mode for ourselves. So it is possible that whilst we have a pretty pinpoint description of this mode, maybe when we actually get to play it, it'll be drastically different than what's been described. With that being said, at the same time, we have gotten a very accurate description of this mode. It's not like if you've heard this description, there's going to be anything when you do play it that will suddenly magically make you like it. If you're not a big fan of the 60-minute countdown and the Ethereum ring closing in, as well as the fact that there's humans in zombies, I'm sure you're not really going to be a fan of it when you actually get to play. It's not like the description of the mode is very vague and hard to interpret like what we had with Vanguard Zombies. Pre-release, they described the modes and everyone was kind of a bit confused as to what exactly it was, and that's why some people got excited because their vision of the mode ended up being very different to what we received. The description made it sound a lot grander than it ended up being. Whereas this time around, I think that the description of the mode isn't very vague and is pretty precise, and for that reason it allows us to get a more accurate understanding of how we may enjoy the mode on release, especially because it is similar to DMZ and we have had a chance to play DMZ before, so that way we can probably understand whether we'll like it or not based off of our experience in DMZ. Vanguard Zombies, on the other hand, was an entirely new mode. It took elements from Outbreak and tried to merge them with round-based, but this is just DMZ Zombies bar the PvP aspect. It doesn't take much imagination to grasp what the mode is all about. And in spite of the fact that I am very cautious about this mode and it doesn't sound very great, there are a few aspects that I really like. One being that we can play on the full Warzone map. I really like that aspect because in the first Outbreak you simply teleported from section to section from the Ural Mountains, which was a cancelled Battle Royale map for Black Ops Cold War, and I like that we're able to play on the full map this time. This is what I've been wanting to see in a true open world zombies game. This is what I've been wanting to see in the sequel to Open World Zombies. But the thing is, because the Ethereum zone collapses, it kind of defeats the point of being able to play on the full map, because you're never going to be able to actually explore the full map, as it's always going to be closing in on you and cornering off sections. Now, I also do like that from the sounds of this mode, it seems like there's going to be a lot more side quests you can do and Easter eggs, and the map will be a lot more interactive with so much things you can do on this mode that were just not present in the first version of Outbreak. The map felt very empty and it really did feel like there wasn't enough to do at times. Now, it got way better with updates. Of course, they added more and more into Outbreak with updates and it got a lot better, but especially on release, there just wasn't enough to do on the map. And even after all of the updates, whilst it is a lot better, it still definitely feels like there isn't enough to do on the map. And I find find that what was good about the fact when they started adding multiplayer maps to Outbreak, we saw Collateral and Armada, because those maps were smaller, it made the emptiness not feel as significant. And it seems like that's going to be what they're going to change with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. The map will feel just as intense and just as interactive, even though the map isn't a lot smaller. The map itself has been described as being the biggest map we've ever seen in Zombies. Of course, we've never been able to play on a map anywhere near this big before. We've only been able to play on sections from the Ural Mountains, which wasn't the full thing. So I really like that, and I definitely do like that we can play with multiple teams on the map. That was something that people were asking for in the original Outbreak, but people were asking for PvP, but honestly, I think it's good that we don't have PvP in this. Like I said earlier, it would be very annoying if you want to do something in Zombies to just get raided by another team, and there'll be a lot of trolling and stuff going on. And like I was saying before, I don't think humans really belong in Zombies, so any PvP element shouldn't be in this mode. I think it's definitely open in other versions of a Zombies mode, for example, a Grief-styled mode, but for a large-scale mode like this, I don't think it really has a place. So yeah, that's the things that I like about this mode. The fact that it's going to be on this big map, the fact that it's going to be a lot more interactive, and there's going to be a lot more to do than the original Outbreak. However, the basis for this mode just doesn't sound promising to me. There are also apparently going to be strongholds on the map, just like in DMZ and Warzone, which will be locked sections that you need to get a key for, and when you go in them, there'll be apparently human AI soldiers, which again, I don't like the sound of this. This should just be zombies. This doesn't sound good at all. And again, this is another bad thing about the mode, because it destroys the ability to just jump in and play, because certain areas will literally be locked off if you haven't gotten a key to open it. Of course, you can get a key by random in that specific game, but it's purely up to luck, and you're never going to be able to get all of the keys required to unlock each of the sections. So it's very much probably dependent on prior games and prior keys that you have, so you can open up specific spots that you want to in your game. And it also sounds like there isn't going to be a main quest in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Instead, there's going to be a different system where you can complete missions just like how you can in DMZ. It's going to be pretty much the same system, and apparently there's going to be 3 different acts, and you can reach each 3 of the acts by just completing these missions. However, you can't actually reach any of the acts in one game, because this mode, just like in DMZ, it's a multi-game progression thing where you basically just have to keep completing these missions in multiple games to eventually be able to, you know, reach each of the acts. And apparently at the end of each act, you will actually get a cutscene, and you'll be teleported to a smaller section of the map, which I guess will probably work like a traditional Easter egg, where you'll be able to search for different clues and stuff like that to progress. And I guess once you finally complete Act 3, you'll get the final cutscene, and that'll be all juicy. It seems like there's going to be lots of cutscenes for this mode, which will be a lot of fun, and this will essentially be the main quest. It's not going to be like a traditional Treyarch Zombies Easter egg, but there'll be plenty of side Easter eggs and side quests you can do. And this doesn't sound great to me, because just like I've just been ranting about, it again completely destroys the jump in and play aspect of Zombies. A great thing about Zombies in the past has been speedrunning Easter eggs and just hopping in a game and just doing it over and over again, or being able to do it at your own will. It seems like the entire quest in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies you won't be able to do in one game. It's going to be dependent on you completing various different missions in various different games, and you'll only be able to do up to 3 missions in a game, meaning that you probably have to play about 5 games to complete each of the different acts. Again, it's a multi-game progression thing with this quest. You'll just have to keep grinding out the quest until you reach and complete each of the 3 acts, with a cutscene at the end of each one. It's not something you're able to jump in and play and complete in just one game. And for this reason, I don't see there being any replay value in replaying it. I'm guessing this is how the post-launch story is going to be told as well. Well, there'll probably be new acts added to the game to get further cutscenes and progress the story, and they'll probably add new maps to the game as well in its post-launch. Maybe we could even see some that are already in Warzone, such as Al-Mazrah, Ashika Island, Vondel. Maybe they could even bring back Verdansk and also Rebirth Island, and these could all be playable in this DMZ Zombies experience, and each one could have its own acts and quests. But again, it doesn't seem like there would be any replay value to them. It would seem like you just play them when they release and that's it, you're done, which is pretty much what the raids have been like in Modern Warfare 2. That's been how it's told the post-launch story, and traditionally most people just play it once. They might complete it on Veteran as well, and the little Easter egg thing you can do on them as well, but once you've done it, that is it. There's no reason to keep replaying the raids, and I don't think people will be replaying these acts in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies either. It doesn't even seem like something you're able to really speedrun, since it's a multi-game thing. And personally for me, although I didn't enjoy DMZ, I have always said in videos that I want to see DMZ Zombies, because I do think that DMZ, but with the zombies instead of regular humans, will be a lot more enjoyable, and I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy this mode a lot more than the first DMZ. However, I'm probably not going to enjoy it as the first version of Outbreak. And in prior videos where I've talked about this, although I've said that I want to see DMZ Zombies, I always suggested it as an additional mode. I've always said that maybe we can get two versions of Outbreak. One that is more traditional, where you can just keep playing and exploring the map indefinitely, and then another version that's just like DMZ, where it's on a timer, and you eventually exfil at the end. And it has cross-game progression with the items that you bring in from prior games. However, I have never wanted to see just one version of either or mode, because I really think that Zombies is at its best when it caters to as many players as possible. It's not a good idea to ostracize big portions of your player base. Already, the round-based community are getting ostracized because this game has no round base, but now also Outbreak fans who didn't enjoy the first DMZ are getting ostracized as well. At least try and cater to two groups by either having a more traditional Outbreak and also having DMZ Zombies, or by having Outbreak and also having round base. You know, you can't just have one mode and expect everyone to enjoy it. You need to have multiple offerings for different types of people. So yeah, overall, there's lots of promising things about this mode, but I'm just not a fan of the basis of the mode itself from the sounds of it. So I've came up with an idea for an alternative mode, because I think that Treyarch can totally do both a DMZ Zombies and a more traditional Outbreak Zombies both in the same game. Like I said, maybe next year, Treyarch are planning to do a sequel to Outbreak, and maybe this is something they have planned for next year, but we're not going to see it in this year. Like I said, we're definitely not going to see round base this year. However, this is a second version of the mode that I have proposed. So essentially, this version has no countdown or Ethereum ring collapsing. It also has no ability to bring items into future games or human AI on the map. It's all just regular zombies or boss zombies. This version of the mode has more traditional zombies progression when it comes to obtaining perks, upgrades, etc. Instead of the difficulty being based on how close you are to the center, there are simply higher Ethereum infected zones with different difficulty levels. For example, difficulty level 1 to 3. In these zones, there will be an objective/mission you can complete that gives you random tier-based rewards for completing based on the difficulty. As you complete each one, this is essentially the replacement to round/waves, and you'll see a tally increase on the HUD. When you complete each one, it also increases the difficulty of the zombies outside the infected zones. Basically, the strategy for this mode is you can survive as long as possible, collecting items to prepare yourself to enter an infected zone, but each time you complete one, it makes it harder outside the zones, but it also increases the rarity of the loot that can spawn, making it quicker to prepare yourself for the zones, but at a risk. The more objectives you complete, the more infection zones are on the map. At the start of the game, most zones are tier 1 difficulty, with say just 1 or 2 3-tier difficulty. As you complete more and more, the difficulty of the zones also increases, so there are a lot more level 3 difficulty zones. Eventually, once you've completed so many, there won't be any playable space that isn't a tier 3 zone, and they'll just be objectives you can keep completing all over the map for quote-unquote high rounder players who just like to play infinitely and compete in the leaderboards for world records. Every 5 missions/objectives you complete, a window opens for you to exfil at your own will in a tier 3 infected zone. So just like in Black Ops Cold War Zombies, you had the choice to exfil. It didn't force you to exfil, and that's something that I don't like about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies' DMZ mode. It sounds like you just don't have choice because you are forced into that 16-minute countdown. You have to exfil at the end, you don't have the freedom whether you want to, which I'm definitely not a big fan of. I really do think that Zombies works best where it allows you to just keep on playing at your own will, and you have the choice whether you want to end it or not. And I think that also helps with the replay value of the mode, because from the prior mode that's been described, I imagine once you've done the 3 acts to complete the quest and get the cutscenes for the storyline, there probably won't be much room to keep replaying. Whereas if you can play infinitely, I think there would be. Zombies has always been in infinite base mode. The first Outbreak was round based, of course. They've done some modes that are more limited time, but those are things like Turned or Griefed. They're more sort of small modes that are a lot more niche. They're more like arcadey modes that you don't really play that often. A mode like this, I think, needs that ability to just keep playing. So anyways, for this idea for the mode, any loot that you exfil with will be able to brought into the first mode, but not this mode if you choose to replay. Now, this was just a thought I had, so you can bring loot over into the other mode, but you don't get to keep it for this mode. That way, once you start a brand new game, you don't have to be thinking about the prior games you've played, and you also don't start with big advantages, such as spawning in with a Juggernog or spawning in with a ray gun or something like that. This way, it keeps everyone at a level playing field when you start the game. And another reason for this is because DMZ has started to see pay for advantage bundles where you can spawn into a game with, medkits or things already, and I suspect the same is going to be happening for DMZ Zombies in Modern Warfare 3, and I don't want to see that. So if that starts happening in the first mode that's been described, with this second idea that I've came up with, this way, there's no way that you can get pay for advantage bundles in this mode. I hope. Anyways, we'll have to see. So basically for this version of the mode, it's, like I said before, it's for players who liked Outbreak but didn't like DMZ. But like I said, if you didn't enjoy DMZ or Outbreak, chances are you won't like either of these. And also an idea is for this second version of the mode that I've come up with, I think that they can also incorporate different teams playing at once, and you can compete against each other to complete the objectives or work together. You can make that choice. As other teams complete objectives, it takes some time for new infection zones to spawn in, so other teams can potentially start completing a lot, leaving you having to wait for new zones to spawn in and for you to progress in your game. Other teams starting objectives can pressure your team into wanting to start completing them, even though you don't feel fully prepared, leading to more risk. And this can lead to all of the teams kind of racing together in a way. I think they can also have solo options for this version of the mode as well, so you don't have other teams playing as well, or maybe you can still play with a squad but there aren't other teams. I think that could be something they could incorporate. They could have both versions. I think it's always good to give the player as much freedom and as much choice to how they want to play the game as possible instead of limiting it. Not having solo options for the other mode is going to be detrimental because the zombies community, a lot of them really mostly play on solo, I included. So yeah, I think this version of the mode would be a lot of fun, and definitely I could see this having solo options too. Now for this version of the mode, I think they can have basically the same Easter eggs and the same side quests that they have on the other mode. Of course, there's probably going to be big bosses around the map, and I guess in those high infection tier 3 zones they can have stuff like Order and other kind of big bosses. And this second version of the mode could have a more traditional main zombies Easter egg quest as opposed to the different acts that were described before. Maybe it could be the exact same storyline, or maybe it could be an entirely different storyline, giving you two different ways that you can complete it. And also, I wouldn't want to see any strongholds in this mode unless they are sort of incorporated with zombies instead of humans. But honestly, I don't really like the idea of strongholds anyways because it blocks off sections of the map that you have to find a key for. Just not really a big fan of that. I just like being able to explore the map like we could on the first Outbreak. So yeah, let me know what you think of this idea in the comment section down below. Like I said, this is just an idea, and I don't know if Treyarch even have the development time or resources to even incorporate this, even if they wanted to. I'm sure that Treyarch have probably talked about an idea that's somewhat similar to this, but maybe they just couldn't pull it off and they only have enough resources to do this DMZ Zombies mode. I hope that's not the case. I hope they can have both versions of the mode like I just described, so both traditional Outbreak enjoyers can enjoy this version and DMZ fans can enjoy the other, and if you like both, you can enjoy both versions of the mode. I do know that Treyarch do listen. I know that Kevin Drew has previously seen a big thread that I made on Twitter a while ago about ideas for Call of Duty 2024 Zombies. I also talked about ideas for an Outbreak 2 in that, but he no longer uses Twitter, so I hope that there's a bunch of other employees that are scouting online looking for ideas and community sentiments and gauging how the fans are reacting to the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies reveal and information. But yeah, like I said, they probably don't have enough resources to make this other version of the mode, and if they do, this is probably what we're going to see in COD 2024 Zombies, a more traditional Outbreak sequel instead of DMZ Zombies. But I thought I would calm down, be a bit mature, and take all of my anger and put it into constructive criticism instead of just whining, because that's not going to make any improvements to the mode. And I suggest everyone in the comment section does the same. If you have any ideas, feel free to tweet Treyarch and, you know, Treyarch employees on Twitter. Just don't obviously harass them, but you can share your ideas in a constructive way. You don't even need to criticize the game at all. Just be like, hey, this is an idea I have, let me know what you think, or whatever. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.